49ers alarm clock update from downtown Nashville. You know I love doing these on location. Well, Brock Purdy and George Kittle were in this arena last night watching some hockey. So, good opportunity for me to give you a tour of downtown Nashville as we talk about the off-season tour of Brock Purdy. Because you know what? Ricky Pearsall posted the trailer for his new YouTube channel, and buried deep inside that trailer, probably 30 or 40 seconds in, we have a throw from Brock Purdy to Ricky this offseason. I'm guessing the location was in Jacksonville, which isn't all too far from here in Nashville, because that's where Purdy works out in offseason, and it's near where Ricky Pearsall went to college. But we knew that they had golfed together, Purdy, Pearsall, and Jacob Cowing, and now we know that Brock Purdy is making the rounds, working with Ricky Pearsall, and maybe, just maybe, working with George Kittle out here in the Nashville area. Kittle actually lives here in Nashville over the course of the offseason. He's got his own football field with turf on his property, and maybe Brock Purdy can be developing some extra on-field cohesion with a tight end who is still in his prime. Both of these guys, Kittle and Purdy, will likely sign contract extensions with the 49ers this offseason. So not a lot of spending in free agency for San Francisco, but that's because they're saving it for the A-list players already on this roster in George Kittle and Brock Purdy. We're gonna cross the street here. This is Broadway in Nashville. Not sure if they're okay with jaywalking here, but we're filming right now. We've got reason to do this. We're gonna make a walk down Broadway toward the Tennessee Titans Stadium, which is also where their new stadium is. That behind me is the Batman building, by the way, because it looks like a Batman mask with the two ears. Broadway at this time of the day is very manageable to do a show on. A little bit later in the day, at night, it's not manageable. You'd be walking through a sea of people. It'd be very noisy. It'd be a little bit crazy, but at this time, we can talk about George Kittle, Brock Purdy, and the 49ers offense in 2025. You know, when the 49ers signed Luke Farrell, the tight end, this offseason, and for the time being, right, there were probably 2 or 3 days there where they didn't have Kyle Juszczyk on the roster before they re-signed him. We were talking a lot about the shift to 12 personnel for the 49ers, which is 1 back, 2 tight ends, versus 21 personnel, which is 2 backs and 1 tight end. And that's something that harkens back to Brock Purdy's time in college at Iowa State. He ran a lot of 2 tight end stuff. He's very good throwing into the seams. He's very good with the intermediate timing, touch passes that are part of a 12 personnel attack. So I think that Brock Purdy, just in general, is very comfortable with 2 tight end formations. And the 49ers, I think, want to run more of them. Even though the 49ers did re-sign Kyle Juszczyk, I think they're still intent on moving to more 2 tight end formations, maybe even 22 personnel, 2 backs and 2 tight ends will be in the cards for the 49ers, but it's basically a way to recreate some of what Brock Purdy was most comfortable with at Iowa State. The fact that Luke Farrell is such an adept pass protector means that he'll be able to handle some of the duties that George Kittle had to handle for about 50 snaps last year, and Kittle can be deployed on more pass patterns. So we made it to the near end of Broadway. If I flip the camera around, you can see the Titans' old stadium, Nissan Stadium, and the new one under construction beyond it. You can pan to the left and look back down Broadway, up to see the side of the Batman building. So this is the cool setup that they have here in Nashville. You can walk from all these honky-tonks and all these bars. This honky-tonk, Whiskey River, seems to be going already, but there's nobody inside except for the musicians. But you can walk from Whiskey River or wherever you're at in downtown Nashville to the stadium. And we're going to walk to the riverfront here to show you the bridge that takes you across. So Kittle on more pass patterns, it seems like a really good deal for the 49ers, because if that happens, he's one of the best route runners at that weight in the league, maybe the best route runner at that weight in the league. He's been over 1,000 yards receiving now in 4 seasons over his NFL career. He's connected with multiple quarterbacks, and we go back to the 12 personnel and Brock Purdy's comfort working with the tight end position. I think that it's a byproduct of Purdy just being so good manipulating defenses. He knows that with a tight end, especially with two tight ends, he can threaten a defense with both the run and the pass. And George Kittle is the ultimate weapon of adaptability that can sell both at the line of scrimmage, and a good quarterback like Purdy who can manage those pre-snap strings can exploit that. He can make sure that the defense is made to pay for being in a vulnerable position. Now let's finish our walk here. We can cross First Avenue, which is our last barrier between downtown and the river. We could see the river, and then we could flip this around and look at where the Titans play their home games. 49ers were here in the preseason last year. They will not be back in 2025. In fact, the Titans are actually coming to Levi's Stadium. But it's a windy day here in Nashville, but a beautiful one. This is the time of the year that I think, really want to be here. Take a look at this. River flowing, been some rain lately. There's the stadium, Titans right on the water, and behind me is the bridge that you can cross from downtown to the stadium, and you'll also be able to cross it to the new stadium, which is right there. You can see all those construction cranes here in Nashville. The new one's going to be covered up because it can be hot here. There can be some inclement weather in the winter. Unfortunately, football not played in April because, boy, it would be beautiful if football was played here in April. This is the time of the year that you do want to be in Nashville. That's why George Kittle is in Nashville this time. His farm right outside of town. He calls the workout, the weight room, the barn, and then obviously he runs some routes on that field. And maybe we'll find out within the next couple days if Brock Purdy was able to visit the barn as well. But while we're at it, let's keep on talking about the Brock Purdy tour this offseason, because working with Ricky Pearsall, I think, is really important. I think that Ricky, he ended last season on such a high note. He and Purdy had awesome rapport in that game against Detroit. Then Purdy obviously didn't play against the Arizona Cardinals, but the way that they connected on that Monday night against the Lions, I think should give 49ers fans a lot of reason for optimism heading into the 2025 season. And obviously there's no more Deebo Samuel with San Francisco, and I think that it was very apparent that Purdy and Pearsall connected more efficiently than Purdy and Deebo Samuel. The 49ers are building this offense around Brock Purdy. And, when you're about to pay a quarterback the kind of money that they're going to pay him, the weaponry needs to be tailor-made for that QB. Well, George Kittle, that's a tailor-made weapon for Brock Purdy. They're even hanging out here in Nashville at the hockey game. And then you look at Ricky Pearsall, I think he's well on his way to being a tailor-made weapon for Brock Purdy. So the 49ers, they're making the monetary investment in Purdy. No firm update on that front, but I think that the first wave of deadline pressure is coming closer with that April 21st start of the 49ers offseason program, but they're going to make that financial investment. They're obviously making the personnel investments in Brock Purdy, and George Kittle making his own investment in Purdy, hosting him out here in Nashville. Tacking on one last piece of news, since it is location relevant with the beer bike coming behind us. Jalen Ramsey, who's here from the Nashville area, he actually went to high school with Margot at Brentwood Academy. He might be moving teams. The Dolphins and Jalen Ramsey have mutually agreed that a trade is very possible. The Dolphins need to trade him by August 31st when a 2025 option kicks in. Remember, Ramsey's 30 years old, going to turn 31 in October. Still playing good football, though. He just is due about $25 million this year, under contract through 2028 when he's 34 years old. So somebody who broke a bunch of track records here in high school in the Nashville area and then at Florida State. Also was a multi-sport athlete, track and field and football, obviously all-pro cornerback. He may be on the move. No, the 49ers are not a possible destination, but since we're in Nashville, the city that hosted George Kittle and Brock Purdy yesterday, the city that's hosting the beer bike behind us right now, I think they call it Pedal Tavern. Since we're here in Nashville, might as well cover the Jalen Ramsey news as well. Hope you enjoyed the tour. We'll talk to you soon.